Right, thanks, sir. Right, thanks for checking out the channel, this video, what have you, and right, continuing adventures and creating a comic book, creating a graphic novel, what have you. So yeah, so if you've watched prior episodes, you know the basic concept is a caveman Cro-Magnon story. So yeah, I had a dark night of the soul, as it were, or really, I just decided I had to fundamentally rework his appearance and the appearance of the Cro-Magnons. Basically, I took the clothes away. So now there's really just a loincloth, and it's not tattoos. Um, I'm thinking these markings will be blue. Um, so the Keltoi, the barbarians who fought Rome, um, some of them would slather themselves in this sort of blue pigment, and it was called woad. They would slather themselves in it before they went into battle, and um, interestingly enough, it was a pretty good idea. Although of course they had no way of knowing this. It was an antiseptic, so a pretty good thing. If you're going to go into battle with the Romans, cover yourself in woad. And so these markings, it's pretty straightforward. It's a simple loincloth. These markings are just going to be um, blue, some kind of blue. Although it's a graphic element, so they may change. Big hint, semi-spoiler there. They may change for certain reasons in the course of the story. But I was thinking, I did also start thinking about how I could use the markings as visual elements. Also, it helps. I think it'll help distinguish the characters. It'll help you tell them apart. There's probably no dialogue in this, so that's probably also a good thing. And I also did, yeah, I did a quick drawing of, I guess, potentially Korr's wife, his mate, and she'll have similar sort of markings, similar sort of woad markings. And this would be helpful, I think, in keeping tribes apart, as it were. So a major sort of hint there. On the other front, yeah, I've been getting a lot more used to, started concentrating pretty hard on dealing with the color, dealing with inking and then adding color to it. And yeah, I'm trying to make a video where I talk while I'm doing that. Although, yeah, full disclosure, that's hard. I find I have to really concentrate with color. And yeah, the inking process, I'm pretty happy with how it's coming along. In some ways, the choices are just kind of dictated by what you have to do. This is something really annoying about having to draw this way. Like when you have to sit at a desk and draw, it really kind of sucks because you get distortion. You're back here looking at the paper at an angle, as opposed to the paper or the canvas, what have you, is standing up right in front of you. That's ideal, and then you can back off and look at it from far away, which you want to do quite often. This is less than ideal, and I notice that I get pretty consistent distortions with this. I get the eyes don't align correctly. I think things kind of slope to this side, which would make sense, or you're drawing with your right hand and you're kind of pushing things this way, and it's almost kind of this side almost kind of slopes. And yeah, you can deal with some of those problems if you're conscious of them, but they definitely sneak up on you. I have plenty of drawings I've looked at that I did in the past where I drew like this, and you can see what's happened. You can see the effect of drawing with the page like that. So, but but you're not really going to be able to see this very well unless I do it this way. Although I am, yeah, hints about the future. I may try and set up a rig gig, some kind of rig where I can draw looking straight at the where the, where the paper's like this in front of me, or certainly not this, certainly not flat, certainly lying down. Couple of options there. I may just crank out. I mean, I actually have I do have something set up for that. I have a few things set up for that, although it's hard to. It might be hard to record with those. It might not. I think it'd be hard to record myself drawing while talking. So, but yeah, might be worth it. And I'll see about setting up the rig. I mean, the great thing about this is the camera's right overhead, of course. So I may just have to live with that. Also, one thing I'm going to say about the pencils, I'm pretty conscious with the computer. Things are going to change a lot taking it into digital, and in part that's just me. I'll get really bored if I'm taking the pencils in and they basically stay the same. They basically look the way. If there's not if there's not transformation going on, if I'm not doing something new and creative with the inking, God, I'm gonna get so bored. I'll get so bored, and I won't do it. So I think intentionally I'm going to keep the pencils quite loose, although we'll see how it goes. But I'd like to keep them quite light, and then take them into digital and be creative there. And I think that'll be better. I did spend some time going through a lot of brushes, a lot of brushes for inking. And I came up with some things that I think are pretty satisfying. I think look like pretty good tools. So, real drag here. So I wish I had colored pencils so I could do the woad markings on his face. Although I'm right. A lot of choices to make as to exactly how that blue is going to work. I suspect the woad markings are going to change as I want them to change. I suspect sometimes they're going to become darker, lighter, what have you. I have been in the digital. I've colored a few things. I've added color to a few things in the digital format, and I've done the woad markings. And they're looking. I'm trying to keep them rather pale. I think that might be more in keeping with the general spirit of the book, and it looks pretty neat. Although I don't want the book to be, as I think I've said before, I don't want the book to be particularly naturalistic. The point is not to do National Geographic. The point is to make something really graphically interesting that you're going to want to read and check out and that you'll enjoy visually. Again, because the plan right now is at least that this has, so far, this has no words. We'll see if that'll change. I did actually write a short novella of this story. I have actually written out this story in a novella, in the form of a novella, which is short, which is a fancy word for, it's not even a fancy word, just a way of saying a short novel. It's longer than a short story, but shorter than a real novel or what have you. So I do have a pretty good. I do have some words I could actually add. I'm trying to think if there's not really the novelization. There's not dialogue in it either. It's kind of everything. It's just descriptions of things. It's just, there is. You're informed. There's an omnipotent narrator, me, and you're informed about the kind of thoughts, the kind of ideas, kind of feelings going on inside, within the character's head, mainly his. Although a lot of it really sort of takes place. It's very much this is not going to make a lot of sense, but it's very much a narration. That's it. One remove. You're not really plunged into into his perspective. I guess it's very different from manga in that sense, which is, I think I've talked about before. Really puts you inside the action, really puts you inside what's going on. And yeah, that's a very cool, let me just say for the record, and for anything else for that matter, that's a very cool thing about manga. I think manga is really pretty neat. And I like I very much like the disposable form. I very much like the disposable format of it. Personally, I think there's something great about the fact that you could just read these things on the train, on the bullet train in Tokyo or what have you, and chuck them away. And that's not to say that they don't have immense value. And if you collect manga, that's awesome, by all means. But I do like the idea that they're just like something that you pick up, you read, and then you don't, it doesn't hang around. It's just kind of a weird thing about comic book collecting, but that's something entirely different. I guess like I don't necessarily keep novels lying around. If I did, I would be up to my ears. I'd have novels all over the place. I tend to read a lot. What I'm reading now, I'm reading a book called Trust by Herman Diaz. We'll pretend I pronounced that correctly. I'm enjoying it. It's pretty good. Curiously enough, I wish it were more boring. I suspect a lot of people are going to find it very. I suspect a lot of people are going to regard it as are going to find the opening sections, at least the sections I've read so far. I suspect people are going to find those very boring. But I think they would be. I think it could be better if they were more boring. He writes well. I think he's a good writer, and I think if things were slowed down some, you could see more of that, and that would be kind of cool. I would certainly dig that. Yeah. So this is kind of the revised version of Korr, right? At least for the moment, and I have here we have some of the markings, some of the woad that's been slathered on. Again, I meant to really talk about why I took the clothes away. I'm going to run out of time, why did I take the clothes away? A couple reasons. The main reason was I needed the characters to be very dynamic, especially since there's probably not going to be dialogue in this, since there's not going to be, and not even narration. The characters need to be really dynamic anyway. They need to be really dynamic, and that's just harder to do if people are wearing clothes, especially if people are wearing bulky, enormous mammoth skins. And don't get me wrong, I don't blame the Cro-Magnons for their fashion choices at all. That's exactly what I would wear, no question about it. But it did. Human body is very expressive, and yeah, so like taking away the clothes, it gives you a chance to really use that as an expressive tool. It makes the figures more dynamic. So in some ways, I'm bummed, or I'm maybe slightly. No, I'm surprised I held out so long. I'm not quite sure why I did. I'm not sure why I held out so long, thinking he had to have. I think it ended up looking pretty good. I think the costume, the outfit, the animal skins I had for me. I think it was working pretty well. And maybe in the future I'll try. Yeah, I might try some rough pages of that, or I might try some rough. Well, nah. I'm gonna have to be. I'm trying. I need to be honest. It just wasn't working great. And visually, so the bottom line is that if the characters are not, if these characters are not wearing a lot of clothes, there's some more graphic options you have. There's some more options you have for conveying the dynamism of the characters. And yeah, that's got to be paramount. As I keep saying, I'm not trying to do National Geographic here. I'm not trying to do a, I don't know, scholastic book or something like that, because, you know, let's face it, that's not what we're doing here. We're doing a stupid comic book, silly comic book, silly graphic novel. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the result. I'm really happy with the Wode markings. I'm really happy with the Wode choices, because I've had some great. I've had so what I think are some pretty good ideas about how to use them as a visual argument, as a visual element. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and work on some other images, especially on the computer, try and get the inking down, and I will report back to you on that. Like I said, I'll try and record a video working digitally, screen capture, which is really convenient. But man, like I said, I would feel bad asking you to watch that, because that's going to be a lot of that doesn't work, that doesn't work, that doesn't work. Yeah, I can't believe that you want to see that. So I'll at least get it to somewhere where I won't have to be incessantly apologizing. I'll try and